before we leave, ask Lee Priest the same question you asked me last week about Nick Walker, 10 Olympias.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Also, maybe we should ask also when. But anyway, yeah. So what I wanted to ask you,
no, he's
Lee.
not going to win 10 Olympias. No.
King Booker asks, thoughts on Patrick Moore's physique and potential to win the Mr. O in the open class? I thought Lee and Boston, you'd both have interesting opinions.
He hasn't put on enough muscle. I don't think he's had. He needs an off season. He's too small.
He's got a great physique and symmetry, but winning. Did he say win the Olympia?
Yeah,
in the open.
No, I don't think he'd win the Olympia. No.
What if he was 23? What if he was 23 and not 35?
I don't even think.
Or 24.
Like, he has a pleasing physique and great symmetry and shape and gets good condition, but I don't know. Then you have to say what year. Maybe back in the 80s he might have won and stuff like that. But now it's hard to say with the mass monster type people and stuff they're looking for. But then, okay, you had Sean Roden win, but I just don't think
But
he has a pleasing, to me. He has like that pleasing for shape that Bob Paris had. Just like flows beautifully. He looks great when he poses. He has all the muscles in the right spot. But there's just, I don't know. I think to be Mr. Olympia, somehow you got to have a wow factor. I'm not taking nothing.
He doesn't have the structure to carry that much muscle.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask Lee just now. So, Lee, does that mean that you think that he can't, is he the type of guy that doesn't carry that much muscle naturally? Like, he can't grow big enough to be a Mr. O? Probably.
I think he could probably get a little bit bigger, but no, I see him maybe on a good day. It depends who's in the show. He could probably crack top 10, maybe 6th or 7th, but I don't see him actually winning it. And that's not taking nothing away from him. It's just that I think the other guys who are in there are just that little bit better.
But Lee, have you ever seen someone at that level in the top leagues of the bodybuilding? For example, take 3 years off, just do a crazy off season and actually get much bigger? Or at that level, there's not going to be that much change. That's why you're saying that.
I haven't really seen that much change because even though you take that time off, I always found that if you kept competing each year, you always train that little bit harder. Because, it's like me. It's like if you take a time off, you train, but the intensity is not the same. The mindset's not the same. If you're going up for a show every year, you're thinking about doing that. You're training hard. You're thinking about who your competition is. If you take 3 years off and you think, okay, I'll compete in 4 years' time, that 3 years, sometimes you might mess around a bit. I said the intensity level isn't the same as if you're going to compete the next year and the next year. And if you're chasing somebody, I think you just seem to relax a bit. And then when it's time to kick it into gear, sometimes it's hard to get back into that mind frame because I know when I came back after 7 years, in the beginning, I'm like, I don't think I can do this again. Just getting that mindset back, taking the bit of gear again, eating all the meals at this time, just that whole mental side. I always found the mental side worse than the physical side, getting ready for contests.
So basically you're saying there's no quicker way for him to do it, and he is doing it the quickest way, and that it's not going to happen that fast. Boston, you feel the same way, right?
I think he would be better off competing every year because most of these bodybuilders grow best in prep and they grow best on a post-show rebound when they stay lean, meaning right after the show when they start adding food back. It seems like everyone's body responds best when they're depleted. So it seems like the bodybuilders that compete once a year at least are always the bodybuilders. What is the optimal number of times to compete then a year to grow, just to grow? Is it 1 or 2 times? I would say at least once.
But it could be 2 times, in the middle of the 2 different times in the year, or 2 in the
back when I competed, it was good because you do the Ironman, the Arnold, and the San Francisco, and then maybe that was 3 shows pretty much a week apart, or within a matter of a month you'd have 3 shows. Excuse me. Then in May you might do the Night of Champions, and you have the Olympia at the end of the year. But if not, you do those first 3 shows, qualify for the Olympia, and then just start dieting again around July. Whatever. So it was pretty good doing it that way. But I just found it better if I kept doing shows. As I said, it just gives you that drive and stuff. Because if I took time off, I'd be just like, get a bit easy. It's like.
Leo, I think it's proof in the pudding that the top 5 Olympians in the world, they only compete usually at the Olympia because they qualify. And the reason for that is because they need that time to improve. But I think it is crucial to compete at least once. But like you said, Lee said, if your shows are back to back, that's different. Like when they do the Olympia, then they have the Prague Pro after they do the little tour. that's fine. But it would be really hard to kind of do shows like 4 months, you know. Plus, you got to stay on the drugs. You got to stay on the drugs if you do that. That's too much.
Don't you think it's a bit of a? Don't you think it's a bit of a shame that Patrick Moore has this like? I as a non-bodybuilder, I feel so because he has like such an unusual, like Frank Zane has a Mr. Olympia, but I feel like he has almost an equally beautiful physique as him, but he can never get a Mr. Olympia because the classic physique now is too light for him, and the Mr. Olympia he can't like, really compete in.
That's what I was going to say. If the classic was a bit heavier, Patrick would be perfect.
He's a real classic physique. If you think about it, he's perfect classic physique, really.
Yeah. But he's like I said, he's not, you know, bodybuilding. There used to be a lot of classic physiques, but then when the mass monsters come along with the big distended stomachs, it's like, oh, we've got to make a classic class. Whereas if the judges didn't get to that stage, if they had I remember back when I was competing and we got this mandate saying if anyone's stomach sticks out, we're going to deduct points, blah, blah, blah. But a few people did get points deducted. Other people whose stomach stuck out and that didn't get points deducted. So it's like I was pick and choose. When Kathy, when I was married to her and she was competing, all the women got this big mandate thing sent out. You're coming in too big, you know, you're looking too freaky and all this. We've got to tone it back. We need you girls to lose 20% of muscle. So a lot of the girls lost 20% of muscle. And what happens? The big girls like Iris, Kyle, and all them keep winning. It's like, well, you just told us to lose all this muscle. We did it, but you still award the big freaky girl first place. So what was the point of losing the muscle?
Did you feel pressured by that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bostin.
No, I'm saying that Lee's right. The judging's all over the place. They've done that many times where they've said that we don't want big guts. We want the woman to be more feminine. And then all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of the chicks downsize and then they still reward fucking the freak. Like, what the fuck?
I could never understand, too, when you watch some of the big shows where, say you'd have someone like Dorian, big and freaky, thick midsection, and then say, let's just say, for instance, Dorian's first, and then you'd have someone like Dexter Jackson, beautiful shape, second. You know, Sean Ray, and then third would be someone like Marcus Rule. How do you go from freaky, symmetrical back to freaky? It's like it should be freaky, 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 and then work your way down to symmetrical. How do you throw in? It's like just messing it up. It just didn't make sense.
That's so true. Okay, I think we'll leave it there, guys. It was such a pleasure to talk to you.
Before we leave, ask Lee Priest the same question you asked me last week about Nick Walker, 10 Olympias.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Also, maybe we should ask also when. But anyway, yeah. So what I wanted to ask you,
he's not going to win 10 Olympias. No,
no, not just 10 Olympias, but like what is his potential in bodybuilding? Also,
it's hard to say because like he looks good in that. Yes, he's done those shows, but until they get on stage with some of the Olympians, it's so hard to tell. Because I remember when there used to be like Acker Malbreck, and he was going to be the next Mr. Olympia. There used to be there was that other young kid. Oh, what was his name? He was the next up and coming. I've seen so many guys similar to Nick who are just big, freaky, and young, and they tout him as
Steve Kuklo.
Yeah, and who was the other one? There's someone not after Dennis Newman. It was Trey Brewer. Someone like Trey Brewer. He was on the cover. He was on the cover once. Next Mr. Olympia. I'm like, they put all this stuff on him. It's like, yeah, I think Nick's got a great physique and that, but yet. And I love that he's got this drive and passion and he's so confident, but yet to win 10 Olympias, it's like, I don't see that. It's like, you know, someone you can look at, like if Phil Heath at his best, if Phil Heath said that, you could probably like, yeah, I believe that, or someone like that. But when you see Nick, I don't know. To me, like I said, I love Nick and I just hope that he, like I said, I like watching his training videos. I've seen some of them and I like his drive and his mindset, but I just hope that he doesn't do this so much and go overboard that, you know, sadly we've seen some younger guys push that envelope too fast, too quick and get complications. I hope he's around for 10 Olympias. Even if he doesn't win them, I hope he's around long enough to at least compete in them and still be healthy doing it. So,
he sent me a message, Leo, after our podcast.
Did you really? What did he say?
I could send it to you. It wasn't bad.
But it's not bad. Yeah.
No, it wasn't bad. He was like, basically, he said, even though he says that he will win 10 Olympias, he says that's his goal. So he was like, he was upset that I said he's delusional for saying that he's going to win.
No,
I said, listen,
you admire it.
It's not delusional that it's your goal. It's not delusional that it's your goal to win 10, but it is delusional when you go on podcasts and you say, I will win 10 Mr. Olympias. And he understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'd love to see him win one because I said he's still young, he's got the time. But I just hope, like I said, I just hope that he loves competing and does it smart. Whoever's helping him, that Matt helps him the right way. And like I said, even if he doesn't win them, I'm hoping he's around long enough to compete in 10 of them and do well in 10 of them. He might not win them, but we've seen that sometimes the guys that don't win them aren't always the crowd favourite. So, as long as he becomes popular in the sport and he can make money elsewhere and that sort of thing. But yeah, just, as long as they keep helping, that goes for everyone.
But when you compete, when you set your expectations crazy high like that,
that's the thing that Boston said.
Lee, like Trey Brewer did that. Like when he won the Excalibur in California, he was 21 years old and he was a freak, right? Everyone was like, this guy's the next. Yeah. Then he kept failing at nationals. He kept failing. And then he disappeared. He became a firefighter. And now he's a personal trainer at a gym. I actually know the gym that he's a personal trainer at. And I think when you set your expectations so high like that, and it doesn't work out in your favor, it's very discouraging sometimes. So I hope he doesn't end up like the next Trey Brewer.
Well, people used to get mad at me, like in my training videos leading up to the Olympia. I think there's one there, I'm talking to Robbie Robinson. And I'm like, Robbie, don't talk to me right now. I'm training for 8th place at the Mr. Olympia. And people are like, Lee, how do you say that? I said, look, I'm a realist. I knew I was never going to win the Olympia, but I'd always set my mind on 10th because back then, if you got top 10, that qualified you for next year. So if people go, Lee, how do you hope you're going to do? I said, look, I hope to get 10th. And they're like, 10th, don't you hope to get high? I said, look, if I set my mind on 10th, and then that one year I got 5th and then moved to 6th, and then 2 more times I got 6th. Look, anything over 10th then to me is a bonus. So if they call that 10th place and it's not me, and I think, shit, I got 9th, well, that's better than I thought I was going to get. So I always put my mind at 10th place because that would qualify me again. So anything above 10th, 7th, 8th, 6th, whatever, that was a bonus to me. So
if you were telling everyone you're going to win and you end up fucking 6th, it doesn't look as good.
No, it's like those fighters that go, I'm going to knock you out, I'm going to beat your ass, and they go in the ring and whack, they go down. It's like, maybe you should have just been humble and just.
That was my only advice to Nick, really, and he understood.
But Lee, I wanted to ask you something. You're almost, I don't know how tall Nick is, but you're similar, like sort of in height, and he's also sort of young, and he has a lot of.
He's 5'7". He's 5'7".
Yeah, 5'7". He says he's 5'7". He's 5'6" on a good day.
Yeah. Oh, so it's similar. So what I was going to ask is this. You also have a long torso like him. He also has a long torso, which is interesting because he has a wide waist is main issue. So what would you do in his position, and how do you think he has a wide waist with such a long torso in the first place? It's such an unusual thing.
I think it's just genetics. I've always been lucky because even when I bulked up, because my waist at its biggest when I was at my heaviest was about 43 inches. And then when I dieted down, it was 29, 30 inches.
That's crazy.
And I never got loose skin or anything. So I was lucky. Because people say, how do you not get loose skin? I'm like, I don't know. It must just be genetics. So I think, too, I don't know sure he does training-wise, but I used to always remember Mike Christian. I used to do 10, 15 minutes a day, just the broomstick on the back. I never used weights. I never did side bends or work my obliques because, the obliques are muscle. So I never wanted to build it up by doing any direct exercises. But my main ab exercises for my stomach were just leg crunches off the end of a bench where you sit on the end of the bench and lift your legs up for the lower abs, and then just 15 minutes of these trunk twists every day and that. But yeah, I think it's genetic on when it comes down to waist. And then it's just, if you do have a bit thicker one, then it's just a matter of height. And if that's the weak point, if your waist is a little thick, then it's just finding the best poses, the best angles that suit you to hit poses where I've seen his front double bicep, and I think his waist in that looks pretty good. It tapers right down because of his legs and his shoulders and his arms. It sort of tapers in nice, those things, but could be on other poses where you got to watch out and just be mindful of it too. That, because a lot of guys, they think someone's not looking, but they turn side on at a certain angle and they relax, and you can guarantee as soon as your stomach goes out, someone goes click.
Yeah, that's true. No,
and that's the only picture you'll see online. Yeah, look at his stomach here.
Yeah, if you search Ronnie Coleman, I bet you on Google, many of the things are just
it's bad.
It's so sad. That's undeserving.
Or it's like too when guys were doing ab shots sometimes, and Boston's probably heard it too. But like, look at here, your legs are so smooth, but yet the guy beside you's probably going whack straight into the ab shot, hit his quad. You've just hit your abs. You haven't hit your quad yet, and that's when they take your picture. Yeah, but your legs are way smooth. It's like, I'm not fucking flexing them yet.
They do that, Lee. They do that in the NPC. They want you to buy your photos. So if you don't buy your photos, they post all the photos of you not flexed. like mid-pose. They give you the most terrible photos online. Where you're
I think that's Manda's taking the photos, by the way. That's
I'm talking about NPC News Online. But then if you pay for the photos, you get your professional shots where you're actually getting poses. I think they do that on purpose because they want you to buy the good photos.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, sadly with the internet today, a lot of people sometimes don't go to the shows, and that's where they judge the show. Well, look at him in this photo, and then you could see, like, Bostin would even know. You could be bettling someone, but if that guy just steps 1 foot closer to the camera on stage and they take a photo, they're like, yeah, but look at him. He's overpowering him by a mile. It's like just the angles or the lighting. It's all an illusion. It's just so.
Is that what happened with Cornelius?
No, he didn't.
I'm joking. He didn't. I'm joking.
That's what I said.
I watched those videos of my dad yesterday or the other day, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Hey, we should have Cornelius on sometime. It would be very funny. All right.